Hi guys, so I'm going to be showing you today how I make my seamless repeatable patterns. It is one of my favorite things to do as a graphic designer. Before we get started, I do want to talk about I am using an Illustrator CS5 and I'm a college student. I know we get discounts, but I'm broke and trying to save as much money as possible. If my CS5 still works, I'm going to use it. Okay. Continuing on, you are going to be working with a square artboard. Mine is 10 inches by 10 inches. You are going to have layers. I have a layer for my background that is locked, so when I try to move elements, I know I'm not moving my background. It doesn't really matter, I just like doing it that way. And then I have a layer full of a whole bunch of elements. I decided to do a Disney-themed snacks, which is some of my favorite things at Disney. With that, let's get started. I like to choose an element to have in the center first, option to drag over to create a copy, and I just kind of center it and tilt it or put whatever position that I like. So once you have an element in the corner of your artboard, this is when you want to pay attention to the location. You need to know that you're in the center of like the anchor box of your subject, so right here, instead of like in one of the corners. So I have him at 0, 0 on the corner of my artboard, and I know that I have to move him 10 inches over here to have him in the exact same position. So we're working on the x-axis. I'm gonna Command C to copy him and Command F to put another copy of him right on top. As you can see, another really good keyboard shortcut to know if you don't already is Command Z to undo an item. So I'm going to move the top copy over 10. And he's all the way over here, exactly lined up. And then we're going to do the same thing. Command C, Command F, and we're going to move him down 10, so on the y-axis. So this guy, who is diagonal, this guy will always be at 10, 10. Time, and I'm going to take away 10 from the x-axis. So now we have our guys on the corners. So basically, when we crop this to the artboard line, you're going to have a fourth of him on each edge. In order to copy the whole pattern and make it seamless next to each other, they will now complete each other when the pattern is whole. And you want to remember that for every single edge that you do. So my next step that I typically do, since I do asymmetrical, it really doesn't matter, but I like to put an element here in between, and then one in the center here. That's kind of bigger, just to kind of spread my bigger elements out. And you can just have fun and play around with these. They don't have to be perfect. Also using the popcorn as a filler. It was just the smallest thing out of all of my elements, and I didn't want to make like an entire bucket or anything. I wanted to keep the popcorn more simple. So I'm going to put this guy cut off a little bit. So Command C, Command F. Now this is where you have to watch. I can't just only put 10 like I did for the pretzels here. You want to do plus 10. So that way you have 0.39 plus 10. Which would be 10.39, so that he is getting cut off at the exact same spot. You have to watch that. Now that I've copied him, I'm going to do minus 10 to get him to the other side. We're going to add a whole bunch of popcorn. I also want to highly recommend, while I am thinking about it, that all of your elements are going to have outline strokes. If you create an element with a stroke, and let's just say, where's my stroke? I have a massive stroke on this guy, and I shrink him down. The stroke looks even thicker because your element is now smaller. So if you want them all to look like they will have even strokes, you need to go up to here, object path, outline stroke. It becomes its own actual like shape, and then it will actually look even while you do it. Seriously, just start filling in things where you want to put them. And there's literally no rhyme or reason to why. As you place elements, remember to kind of rotate them around so that all of your shapes are not facing the same direction. I have a lot of this really full and a really good start. A test that I'd like to do is zoom out and kind of see if there is any major holes that I can notice right away. So I want to make sure that your filler items are pretty consistent. Again, if there's like major patterns of lines, you're always going to get some kind of line, but you don't want them to be in a straight line, basically. You don't want to have one area that's super crammed with it and one area that's not as crammed. Remember, if you want to move these items, you have to move them to the ones that are symmetrical to them. Which right now I kind of feel like I'm a little bit more top heavy. So I'm gonna add a few more elements in. What am I doing? If you also feel like you just can't get a good placement on some sort of level, try adjusting the sizes of things. Really great way to kind of fill the space a bit better. I keep losing track of which popcorns I have where. Let's do one more zoom out test. I think that looks a lot better. So now that we have that, I go into my layers and unlock my background. And I'm gonna create a 10 by 10, not 1010 square, and I'm going to put it exactly at 5 by 5. So now that I have a 10 by 10 square that's exactly centered in my artboard, I'm going to select everything that's in the artboard. You can do Command A, but watch your elements that are in or out of it. If you don't want to get rid of these elements in this clipping mask, you can unselect them or just select the elements that are in your artboard. I decided I want to keep them out for now just so I can. So right click, make clipping mask, and there you go. So here you can kind of see the force and the cutoffs. And I create a larger artboard. I'm just going to do 20 by 20 for right now so you can see the design for up. Copy it over. So if you place them all directly next to each other, and you can test that they are perfectly aligned with your alignment keys, you can see that it became seamless. Ooh, look, see? If you have a gap like this one's an easy fix. It just means that it needs to get moved closer. So yeah, that's how I take these elements and make them into different patterns. Patterns are really this endless design element that we can work with, and they can get built into so many things. Like if you think about like fabrics and wrapping papers, gift bags, blankets, pillows, wallpaper, anything, and you can pretty much name can be made or used with a pattern. I hope you really enjoyed this video of how I make patterns. I do like to make them, so I'm probably going to show you how I make them more and more. And I truly hope you guys have a magical Monday. I will see you next time.